What's going on, Stanyo Clanyo? Happy Sunday evening. It has been a minute since I've done a YouTube live. Welcome into Team Sztanyo Live. We're talking all things living and breathing and real estate here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Northern Kentucky. And I apologize, I haven't been around for a little bit. My son had a flag football league with games on Sundays, and it just, you got 5 kids. It makes it really challenging to get all the other things done and in here on in for YouTube Live on Sunday night. But I'm super excited about the show. There's been a lot that's going on, both in the real estate market and some big news with some zoning changes we talked about on this channel previously with the Cincinnati connected communities. Well, that went to a vote this week, and City Council passed it 6-3. So there are going to be some very big changes coming soon into the real estate, specifically within the city limits of Cincinnati, Ohio, and how that impacts it. We're going to dig into all those details. As always, if you guys are joining the stream, feel free to jump in the chat. Would love to know where you are watching from. If you have questions about anything Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky related, whether that is real estate or anything else, or let's say you want to talk about Reds, let's say you want to talk a little bit about the Bengals, feel free to do that as well. But we are going to jump right into it tonight. A few announcements, I guess, before we get started is first thing, Sztanyo Clanyo. So one of the things we do at the Sztanyo Clanyo is we do these client events, and we've got a big one coming up with our annual Reds game. We had a blast there last year. We had 200 of our clients, past clients came, and family and friends. We allowed our clients to invite some of their friends out to a Reds game at Great American Ballpark. That game is coming up. What is today? The 9th? I believe it's I don't even know the date. It's Friday, the 21st, I believe. Is that right? What are we? 14, 21? I think that's right. Look at that. There's Mrs. Sztanyo Clanyo right there. And I gave my kid a buzz cut. So that was nice. So we had a blast this year. We're not only doing 200 people, we are doubling that, and we are doing 400 people at the event. There's the amazing Carrie Reichwein, Liz from Columbia Parkway, from Columbia Title, Lynn Jennings Smith, awesome sponsor of Team Sztanyo and this event. There's Adriana, maybe one of the biggest fans ever of Team Sztanyo with her family. Come on down. If you guys are clients, actually, we're already sold out this year, so we might have to double this again next year. But we've got 400 tickets going. We're going to have a professional photographer there, so bring your family. You get a photo out in front of the stadium, and then just have fun at the game. We got a fireworks show on Friday night, so super looking forward to that Team Sztanyo event coming up. Now, that's the Reds. For those of you who are Reds fans, for those of you who are Bengals fans, I don't know if you've caught this, but I have been sponsoring the Growler podcast. So I've been going on as kind of the real estate guy on their channel and doing a little bit where I get to ask Paul Dehner Jr. a question. He gets to ask me a question about real estate. So I get to ask Bengals, and it's been a lot of fun. If you haven't subscribed to their channel, if you don't know anything about Paul Dehner Jr., he's the best. He's the best at covering the Bengals here in Cincinnati. There's no question. He's hilarious. He's got all kinds of great content. So go on over to the Growler podcast. Check them out. If you are a fan of the Bengals, it's the best podcast going. And I had fun on there talking about this week, since Justin Jefferson got his contract, I wanted to be sure, if Jamar Chase, if he doesn't have a real estate agent, maybe he could reach out to the Sztanyo Clanyo, when he lands that massive deal and buys a new house here locally. Would love for Sztanyo Clanyo to help that out. But also we talked about fatherhood, and I asked a question this week of, does there's always this thing about being in a contract year. There's players do a bump when they're in a contract year because they're trying to get that money. So you might get a little bit more production out of that. My question was, what about new dads? Because I know when I became a new dad, everything changed. And I realized, man, I'm really selfish. And I'm not just living for myself or my wife anymore. I'm living for this living, breathing baby. And nothing, I think, motivates a man or a woman for that matter to get going and get serious than having a newborn baby. And when you have 5 of them, it's crazy. So I asked Paul, Have you ever seen that with the Cincinnati Bengals? Do you see when people become fathers, does that help mature them? Do they do a little bit, do they play a little bit harder? Do they get a bump? So anyway, that was a fun conversation. You can go ahead and check that out. But we are going to get into some real estate talk now. So let me wrap this up, because the big news on the week, and let me make this a little bigger for you guys, is that Cincinnati Council backs sweeping changes to how land can be used in Cincinnati. So this is a picture of City Hall. And I just want to give you a little bit of the overview, and we'll talk about this. I've talked about it on the channel a little bit already. I'm very interested to see how it goes. But the short of it is Cincinnati Council had a vote. It was voted on 6-3. It passed, and it approved extensive and controversial changes to the city's zoning code in the council's housing committee, setting the stage for final approval, which that passed as well. Now, what's basically happening with this change, I'm going to scroll down a little bit in this, is that they're trying to add more density into the city. So connected communities is what it's called. It allows more housing to be built near major transit routes and neighborhood business districts. For example, along major transit corridors, property owners directly on the street would be allowed to, by right, build or renovate existing structures to have 2, 3, or 4 units, regardless of the current zoning. So what's happening presently is there's all this single family zoning, and we're not getting density along these transit corridors, these business routes, because it's all single family. You need so much parking, you need so much space, and it's really expensive. So the idea behind this whole thing was, what if we just, any developer can go in now, if it's zone single family, doesn't matter. You can now turn that into a duplex, a triplex, a quad, or maybe even a row home, which is row houses, which is very interesting. So this reduces or eliminates parking requirements in those same areas, depending on what is built. For example, if developers build a new building, parking requirements would be reduced to 1 space per new apartment from 1.5. So previously, if you had an apartment space, you had to have 1.5 parking spaces per. Now they reduced it to 1. They also could build such housing within a quarter mile of business districts along that route. So this passed. The interesting thing is, I heard, I was listening to some podcasts about it. It sounds like the city, I don't know. We'll see. I think there's going to be some political capital that was spent to get this passed, or there is for sure, because they announced it and they talked about it, but they didn't go about it the normal avenues in terms of how you talk with the community. And it seems like, from what I can tell, they kind of dodged these community organizations and going to normal kind of town hall, so to speak, to talk about this plan. And it seems like they did that because most of the people who are part of those communities, they're single family homeowners, and single family homeowners don't want a bunch of duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes built along the route, not having additional parking. So that makes parking more difficult for them. That, in theory, might actually bring down their property values. So if you're a homeowner, if you guys are listening and you're watching this and you live within the city limits, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Or if you're just have thoughts in general. I see the I see the arguments for both sides. If I was a single family homeowner, I would probably be upset about this. But also, when you're thinking about the city going forward, there definitely needed to be some zoning changes. We need to having more density in the urban core is extremely important. We need people in the city, right? And so how do you do it? So they did it. It sounds like they did it in kind of a crafty way, in terms of they got the message out, but not in the way that normally gets the message out. So let me tell you what that means a little bit more. So Chris Wederick from the Business Courier has been all over this. He talks a little bit more about, the idea with these row homes is they're less expensive to build. And ideally, if you get more density within the city, let me bring up this article. This is a second article about this. Cincinnati wants more townhomes in its connected communities plan. Will it boost homeownership as build? So, the idea is, maybe you could get 1 or 2 single family homes on this kind of space right here, but you could also get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or so townhomes in the same space, and you maybe just need one parking space per. This is a picture of a parking space and a garage, but this column kind of talks about the idea of, okay, yeah, you can get more density, but most of these that are being sold right now in the city, they cost between 300 and 900. So are you really making it more affordable for people, or are you just really trying to draw people from the suburbs to make it? And is the plan based on people who can afford this to come into the city? I think it's a little bit of both. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of everything. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these more expensive townhomes go up in the city, but I also expect to see, real estate investors come in and go, oh, great, I can put in a duplex here now. I can put in a triplex. I can put in a quad. Now, in that case, you're bringing in renters. And so you're bringing in more people overall. The idea is to kind of boost these different, these different transit routes in these different neighborhoods by bringing more people. You need those people to go to the different local businesses and the restaurants and the bars and all of that. And if you can do that along the bus route, which is basically how they've planned this out, if you can do that, you're bringing in more density. Ideally, you're building up these different neighborhoods in the business hub. If you have more people in there, ideally taxes are going up. With more people, potentially housing prices can go down. At least that's kind of what they're saying with this idea. So if homes were built at those prices, it might boost the home ownership rate, but rely largely on bringing in wealthier suburban homeowners into the city. Cincinnati's home ownership rate has been at about 40% for at least the last quarter century. So this went for a vote already. It passed, and we got you guys chiming in, which is awesome. So Brandon says, yes, definitely a hot topic. Brandon, love to hear your thoughts on it. Alex is saying, yeah, all good. Now we just need to incentivize developers to build condos downtown versus continuing to build apartments. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Hey, Alex, it's good to be back. It's been a little while, I know. So I'm glad to be here. I don't know if you caught on the first part of the stream, but was doing my son had a flag football league, my 11-year-old in Highland or in Fort Thomas, and so was doing that on Sunday afternoons. Was making it pretty hard to get here as well, but I'm glad to be back on here. I hope to do a lot more of these this summer going forward, but it is good to be back and have this interaction. What do you guys think about this plan? Yay or nay? This other article, well, to your point about more condos downtown, I actually saw another article this week. Let me bring this up. From the Model Group, and a friend of mine was actually quoted in this article. But this headline: Cincinnati developer Model Group says cities faces the same challenges in converting offices to residential. And the person quoted in this article, Lacer Bradley of the Model Group, he's the president over development there. They're an over the Rhine based Model Group, and basically what he's saying is, you've got. A few years ago, a lot of people were able to do apartments. You purchased them with a 2% or 3% interest rate. Occupancy was quite a bit higher. But now you're facing an eventual end of that loan term, trying to replace that debt. They're going to be at 7% plus interest rate and at significantly lower occupancies. The value of the building has plummeted. He said they're literally upside down before you even start. Hey, there's my bud. There's Lacer. We looked into doing assisted living several years back. Good to see him still doing well and featured on this forum. He's really, really smart guy. Have no doubt that he is killing it over at the Model Group. But he is talking about these residential conversions in this article. In fact, they're doing one at the Mercantile Library. But they're only able to do it because of a tax credit. Because, you think about these amazing old buildings here in Cincinnati that are turning into, apartments or residential spaces downtown. And this is one of the things that Cincinnati has going for it, right? Is this amazing architecture. But these buildings weren't designed for residences. And so just think about digging into a, 100, 150-year-old building or whatnot, and trying to add new plumbing for an apartment on, or multiple apartments on every floor or something like that. Or the electric and all the coding and all the, all the historic things you need to relate to. So it's extremely expensive to do. I certainly understand why Cincinnati and why other cities downtown are looking to do it. but it's expensive, right? It is very expensive. So I don't know. I think it's cool, but I understand, I understand that it's hard for developers to get into this. And if you look at this, this last quote here, to overcome those costs, Bradley and the model group work with municipalities and states for tax credits, such as historic income taxes, to help make the numbers work. The model group applied for and received a $5 million tax credit through the Ohio Historic Preservation Tax Credit for the Mercantile Project. This is a public-private partnership on steroids, frankly, Bradley says. So, that's a challenge, but at the same time, I don't know if people love their money going towards something like that, but I also get the argument. He's saying, look, we believe that you need to invest in the urban core, and a healthy, he says a healthy city, a healthy region is dependent on a healthy urban core. If you abandon the urban core, you will face repercussions to the region. I think that's exactly right. But it takes a lot of money to do that. So that's the challenge. It's like to convert these apartments or even build up new townhomes. It's a big investment. So Adam, what's up, Adam? Adam says it would be nice if we could also see some movement on the streetcar expansion plan as well, especially since they want to encourage people to move to the city core. So this is what I think, Adam, is probably part of the long-term plan, right? Would be my guess. Like, I'm going to show you this other article that this column by Chris Wederick, because I thought it was really interesting. But my thought on this, if you think about, okay, we're trying to expand density in all of these neighborhoods, and we have the bus route, which is great, and that is expanding. But I've got to think this is part of a larger plan that includes more public transit in the Cincinnati area, which to me, that means expanding the streetcar. I know the first step of that many people have wanted for a long time is getting it up to Uptown, so up to the hospitals and UC. I think that makes a lot of sense. If you're going to go anywhere, I think it makes sense to go there. But I'm curious if over the next, next decade or so, if we don't see if this connected communities plan really starts working, we see more density, that you see the public transit really expanding as well. I totally agree on that. Will be really interesting to see there for sure. So let me show you this other article, and then we'll after that, I'll give you guys have got charts. Eric's got charts. Eric's got stats. So we'll show you a little bit what's going on now that we got the May numbers in for the Cincinnati market. And so if you're looking to buy or sell, we'll dig into that so you can be on top of what's going on there as well. So, all right, this column by Chris, connected community zoning overhaul is a uniquely Cincinnati kind of revolution. I like how he kind of frames this. So he says in Cincinnati, you need to just break for a while here. 1 second. I need to have you guys on as guests so I can give the old windpipe a break here. All right. That's the feeling I got over the past few weeks as I've watched opposition from neighborhood councils coalesce against this connected community zoning overhaul, championed by Mayor Aftab and council members Reggie Harris and Jeff Clermont. Am I saying that right? Which passed on June 5th. The plan makes it a bit easier to build more housing near transit lines in neighborhood business districts, allowing, for instance, small apartment buildings with up to 4 units within a quarter mile to a half mile of such areas. It also relieves developers of the costly burden of building parking spaces in the numbers the current code requires. There's a lot more details, and you can read all about that in our other article. In its own particularly Cincinnati way, this proposal was both sweeping and conservative. So I like that line, and as he kind of explains what he means here by that. He says sweeping in that it made a fair number of modifications in a city that does not much like change. What do you guys say? Would you agree with that? Is Cincinnati a city that doesn't like a lot of change? Yeah, I can see that. He said it's even as the politically liberal blue dot in this region's sea of red. So if you look at a political map, you know that like the Cincinnati core, the city of it, is very blue, whereas you go around all the suburbs, basically around the city, usually in both northern Kentucky and the Ohio side, is conservative suburbia. So it also may be the single So while he's saying it's sweeping, it also may be the single most free market deregulatory law the 7 left of center Democrats who supported it likely will ever vote for. So it was sweeping, but also put all these Democrats into doing a free market kind of deal. So it's kind of in the middle. That's why I think politically this was kind of smart. I mean, you've got a fully Democrat city council, and you're able to pass a deregulatory law and basically rolling back some of the zoning laws here in Cincinnati to allow developers to get to work and go build these things. He says it's conservative in that it stops well short of what a few other cities are doing. It reduces but does not remove the minimum number of parking spaces developers must put in when they build new or renovate existing structures. It does not end single-family zoning. It does not require developers to include affordable units in every project. That was by design, Piraval said. 2 years ago, as the city began to talk to residents about the changes needed to respond to a burgeoning housing crisis, it was clear that a truly radical approach was not going to fly. Fear of the kind of bold, risk-laden change that could simultaneously upend decades of tradition and make us great Midwestern economic powerhouse has driven Cincinnati's civic culture for decades. It's why we did not include rail lines in an otherwise solid 2020 plan to boost public transportation in Hamilton County. It's why there's been so much behind-the-scenes hand-wringing over the Bridge Forward Citizens Group's proposal to markedly rethink the approach to the Brent Spence Bridge. It reminds me of former Cincinnati Enquirer columnist, which I love, Paul Doherty. Paul Doherty's nickname for the Red Stadium, pretty good Great American Ballpark. In Cincinnati, we congratulate ourselves for being pretty good. So, John, what's up? Good Sunday afternoon. John here. This is exciting stuff. I'm actually relocating my business from Raleigh, North Carolina to Cincinnati. Let's go. And I would enjoy talking this week relative to my relocation. Awesome. Yeah, hit me up. You're going to put my email in here at teamsztanyo.com. Hit me up there and or call on the number 513-813-6293. I would love to talk to you about your relocation. That's awesome. Thanks, John. Thanks for reaching out. So yeah, this is exciting stuff. A lot going on here. Few other takeaways from this article. Community councils collectively were overpowered politically in a way I haven't seen in 11 years covering City Hall. So again, I find this interesting. It seems to me like Piraval is kind of threading the needle here and trying to take a somewhat conservative approach. But again, I spoke with an attorney recently who, when I asked him about this plan, he's very conservative, and he was like, "We should have blown the whole thing up. This isn't going nearly far enough. We need to start over. Why are we trying to band-aid, this 100-year-old thing that it doesn't make sense for today's modern day?" Which I get. I totally get that argument as well. But again, if you're a mayor and you're trying to get something passed and you've got a completely Democrat city council, how do you do it without, you can't just say, let's go all the way conservative, right? So it feels to me like it's a political maneuvering, threading the needle to get this thing through, but also in the way he did it, in terms of the way it was communicated. You got several homeowners and community councils that are upset, calling it a sham. There might be some political backlash here. There might be someone who rises up and says, the mayor ran this through, and so in the next mayoral election, they might come after him. Here's the map, all the target areas. Again, this odd looking shape right here is the city of Cincinnati that doesn't have Norwood in it, right? And it has these little different pockets, but these are kind of the different bus lines going out and all these little different pockets of different communities. That's the idea. And the dark navy and the light blue is a quarter mile and half mile around these neighborhood district buffer zones where they're trying to grow the density. So those are the target areas. Chris again says, keep an eye on the political consequences. 2 years ago, I scoffed at the notion our elected officials would attempt something so politically perilous as to tinker with areas of Cincinnati zoned only for single-family homes. that they did speaks to either to their political naivety and or a deep conviction that what they've done is right. So interesting line there. I just, it's like, that's kind of like an eyebrow raise, right? I'm guessing that's not pure political naivety. I think it's, they think it's right. They took a risk is what it feels like to me. 6 months ago, I would have been surprised if Puraval had a serious opponent in his reelection campaign next year. Now, I'm not so sure. He and this council have ticked off hundreds of the most engaged, motivated voters in the city. So this will be very interesting. This will be very interesting. He and this council, will a credible opponent who likely will have to be a Democrat come forward and make this issue a central part of their campaign? Does this issue have the kind of legs that the streetcar or the parking lease plan had in 2013, which swept John Cranley into the mayor's office? The 2023 election gave Puraval and his allies near absolute power at City Hall. The electorate in 2025 won't be the same because of the abortion and marijuana ballot initiatives that had progressive voters flocking to the polls last year. The question is whether it will be different enough to matter in a city where who the Democratic Party tells you to vote for has major sway with voters in the era of Donald Trump, and the party is not going to abandon Puraval or the 9 Democrats on council. Last takeaway here, or change will be slow. So one reason the issue might not have long legs politically is the changes contemplated will not be instant. Interest rates and construction costs continue to hobble developers. We don't have a lot of companies building the kind of duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes that are contemplated. The places where change is needed first are in the neighborhood business districts. I'm near one myself in Clifton, and goes on to say, like, it's great when it's walkable. So another interesting final observation here is he said it's kind of split generationally. So not necessarily blue-red, but more older, younger, in that, younger people want the connected communities. They want the walkability. Older people who probably own a lot of these single family homes, don't want their property values going down. I get it. So, and maybe that does kind of land blue-red. I don't know, but very interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. So Alex again says, makes sense since a Midwest town with all the big city amenities, always up for better transit. I don't drive. Yeah. I mean, we had the underground subway, right? That was started where you could still go down and see those tunnels underneath the city. That project was left behind. So yeah, the best public transit really is the bus. I mean, the streetcar, the fact that it is free now downtown, you can ride it from the banks up to Rheingeist there at the top of OTR, is great. But other than that, it's lacking. We're a car town, and so again, if you're just kind of stepping back from this and thinking big picture, and you want more public transit in Cincinnati, you want more light rail or something like that besides bus, which the buses, it seems like they're getting better as well. They're kind of experimenting, doing some better things. There's nothing wrong with the bus whatsoever, but you need, it kind of needs to go hand in hand. You need more density, and then the transit issue could go along with it, I think, for sure. So hopefully we can continue the progress and try to undo what we're doing. Try not to undo what we're doing. Yeah, I agree. I want progress. I want progress in Cincy. That I'm here for that. John, sounds awesome, man. Looking forward to talking. Hope to help you with your relocation here. It's a great city. Love to have people from Raleigh. That's awesome. Yeah, no worries, Alex. All right. So let's transition a little bit since we're talking. Actually, there's one more article here, and then I'll show you some of the stats. But in terms of understanding what's happening in the real estate market, we're now in summer. Brandon, we'll get this one more comment in here before we move on. I think getting people back into the city is first. I do think it will take considerable public funding, unfortunately. Yeah. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. I think you're probably right. And I think, post COVID, it's, the city's losing so much tax revenue with hybrid work and with people working from home. It's not just tax revenue, but it's just like the lifeblood of the city, right? Like, they had an initiative lately. What was it called? Like Meet Me Downtown or something like that, where they're trying to get restaurants to offer lunch deals to get people. And I think, I know for me, I never really stopped coming into my office. We were in real estate, we were deemed essential. And so now a lot of people stopped coming into the office, I will say, and that changed, but I never stopped coming in. You miss it, right? I feel like we're a few years past the pandemic now, and people are like, man, it's both. We love working from home, and all of the benefits that come with that. There's some downsides to that too, especially when your kids are home from summer break, maybe. But we also, there's also all that benefit to being around people and having friends and having work relationships and learning from people who maybe are more experienced with you, and maybe, you know, maybe being able to jump up. I don't want to say the corporate ladder, but just the wisdom you get from being around people who've worked in your industry longer. That's hard to get on a Zoom. That's hard to get when you're not just bumping into each other all the time on that. So, yeah, I think we need to get people downtown, for sure. I think I would rather see, for me, I guess this is me talking, and maybe I don't know all the ins and outs of this. I'd rather see us as a city try something and fail than not try anything at all, I think. And so to just kind of sit back and let the city deteriorate and not go after the urban core and keep growing. He's taking a risk. I like it. I like risk taking. Okay. Guys, thanks for the conversation. Love having you jump in here. Makes it so much fun. I miss these, man. I miss hanging out with you guys. All right. Let's go over to what the market is doing. Home sellers are dropping prices, but don't celebrate yet if you're a prospective buyer. All right. Classic photo with the old generic for sale picture in the sign in the yard. All right. The chronically troublesome housing market by Andy is seeing more price drops, but that doesn't necessarily translate into relief for home buyers. By the way, I don't think this is these stats aren't local. These are nationally. So data from Redfin shows 6.4 of active listings on the platform had a price drop through the week ending May 26. Excuse me. While that's not a massive portion of the listings, the percentage is substantially higher than 4.4% of listings with price drops in the same time in 2023. So some listings are dropping their prices. It's almost 50% more, so it is substantial, but it's only 6% of all. So it's still seller's market is basically the point of this article. And we are seeing more. But the big thing is, where's the hiccup? It's affordability, right? So new listings are up a little bit, but we're just interest rates are still high. So the housing market is still being held back, both in terms of supply and demand. Many people who are first-time home buyers are going into the rental market instead. I have a client recently. We tried to get him a house. We offered on several, and they're like, you know what? We're moving here. We just need to get settled. We're going to rent for a year, see what happens. And I get it. It's still challenging out there. Many people who are first-time home buyers are going to rent, and owners with low interest rates see how expensive it is too. Their mortgage payments would go up a lot, even if they were to move to a similarly priced home. That holds back supply, but a similarly priced home, might not be the right space for them. So this keeps a lot of, this keeps a lot of sellers from putting their house on the market. Sean, what's up? How's the Cincinnati market for healthcare providers, specifically dentists? I'm debating making the move from Atlanta, which is a highly competitive, saturated market for dentists. Well, Sean, thank you for asking that question. I cannot say that I am a chief Cincinnati dentist economist. However, I can say that I can probably safely say that in general, the cost of living and the competition in Cincinnati is less than Atlanta, just purely from a population standpoint, right? Is there no competition from dentists? No. Is it a completely blue ocean? No. But is this a great place to move your business because the cost of living and there's opportunity here? Yes. And are we probably a city on the rise? Yes, but Cincinnati is always kind of like a slow city on the rise. So we haven't popped off like Atlanta or or let's, Austin, Nashville, name your hot city. And so, you know, feel free to ask me more questions, but that's my thought. I can give you a lot more info about Cincinnati in general. Check out some of the videos on the channel, pros and cons, taxes. I honestly need to redo my taxes video with a CPA. If anybody's got a good CPA that works in both Ohio and Kentucky, that's who I want to interview for that video, because I get a lot of questions, and especially about property taxes. And in general, property taxes are lower in Kentucky than Ohio. However, you've got a vehicle tax in Kentucky that makes it a little bit higher. It's all confusing. There's counties, there's townships. Are you working in the city? Are you not working in the city? You need to talk to a CPA. But anyway, I want to do that. But Sean, I've got some other videos on the channel. Be sure to subscribe and check those out. That might help help you make your decision. And just shoot me an email. Let's line up a call. I'd love to answer any more questions you have beyond one question on here. Okay, so back to this article. Interest rates are high, so affordability is high. So this is kind of nationwide. I want to show you guys more what's happening here locally. Baby boomers, millennials, Gen Z are in a housing market tug of war. So a report from Redfin earlier says that the length of time people stay in their homes has more or less doubled since 2006. So in that year, the median homeowner spent about 6.5 years in a home. The number peaked at 13.4 years in 2020 before dipping to 11.9 years in 2023. About 56% of baby boomers have lived in their home for at least 10 years, according to the study, while 35% of Gen Xers have lived in their home for at least a decade, just 7% of millennials, because we're younger. The homes older Americans own also tend to be larger. So new homes are maybe a little bit smaller and they're more expensive. A separate Redfin analysis found that empty nester baby boomers own twice as many 3-bedroom plus homes as do millennials with kids. Yeah, rates are higher and housing prices are higher. So it makes it tough. I get it. A report from Home Improvements found that 73% of baby boomers have been in their current home for 11 years or more. I mean, this is the story, right? This is my parents' story. They're baby boomers, and they started. We were looking at homes with them over the last year, and they were looking at, okay, I've got this nice 4-bedroom home that I built 30 years ago. It's paid off. We like our pool. We've got a brand new kitchen that we remodeled. I've got no neighbors looking at the backyard. I've got woods that I'm looking at. My lot is larger than anything else that a new construction is built in right now. So I could go buy something new where there's a bedroom on the first floor. And it'll cost me, I don't know, 50% more than this house. And it'll be 50% smaller. And I'll be looking into a neighbor's backyard. Or I could, put an electric chairlift on my stair rail, and when we need it, and go up to our second floor, primary bedroom when needed. And that's, that conversation that I'm having with my parents is kind of like the same conversation that every boomer is having with their kids right now. Like, we could sell, yeah. But should we sell? Like, what are we going to get on the backside? And so that's keeping all of that inventory low, on top of new construction being low. And it just makes it tough. It makes it hard. I feel for millennials and Gen Z, and what's after Gen Z. Are we back to Gen Alpha? I don't know my gens well enough. Yeah, Sean, happy to help, man. Brandon, real estate attorney might be a good bet as well for the property tax issues. Good point. I should get my guy on. He would be great. Okay. Yep. Good call, Brandon. I think I might do that. Okay. I'm going to show you guys some stats. Who wants to see some stats? Okay. Can I make this bigger? No, that don't work. Okay. Here's where we're at. This is Cincinnati based now. Okay. And I showed this last month and I'm like, that's a weird April. Well, May picked it back up. So I get it. All right. Here we are. Median price of homes sold for the past 2 years. And what we're looking at here is, let me do this. Oh, did that work? Here we go. Let's go. Okay. Okay. So this is all of Cincinnati MLS, and I looked at Clermont, Butler, Warren, and Hamilton counties, all single family homes and condos over the past 2 years. This is the median sale price in Cincinnati in those 4 counties. 2 years ago, the median sales price was, where'd my cursor go? $276,000 in May of 22. Right now, that number is $310,000 as of May 2024. A difference of 10%. Average that out, you got 5% appreciation over the past 2 years in the Cincinnati real estate market. We've talked about this a lot on the channel, but I'll review again. We typically see a little bit of slowdown going into fall and winter. Last year, we saw a pretty decent downward tick as rates, actually on sale. Actually, I take that back. We'll see it on the inventory and the days on market and the months of supply, but we don't really see it here in the pricing. It did come down a little bit. And I was telling you guys last year in December and January, I was like, hey guys, this is the time to buy. So if you are out there watching this channel from another city, I understand the winter and is not the best time to move, especially if you have kids. I totally get it. But if you are someone who's like, I want to get the best deal I can, then just realize that the Cincinnati market is seasonal, and the best pricing you're going to get is going to be in December, January, and February. Now, the downside to that is you're also going to get the lowest amount of inventory, so you don't have a lot of options to choose from. But the people who are selling at that time of year, they need to sell. Okay, otherwise they're going to wait till the spring market, and wait till the prices go up, like they are doing right now. So we're up at 310. You can see going back to May of last year, it was right about 300, maybe even a little bit below last May. So prices are going up. They've been going up steadily since January. April was a little bit of a dip, which was odd. But overall, you can see from January, February, March, April, May, we're all up again this year. I would expect that to continue here through June. So if you look at May and June in the last 2 years, and then towards the end of the summer, July and August, and into the fall, if you look seasonally, that's when prices start to come down a little bit. Okay, because what's happening typically then are a lot of the buyers, if they're families that are moving, kids are going back into school, so you get a little bit less buyer demand. You get a little bit of sellers who push the price a little bit too high. Now they need to do a price reduction, and now they're looking around and they're like, oh crap, all the buyers are gone. We need to get this thing sold. And so they might take a little bit of a lower offer come end of summer into fall and into the winter. Make sense? So if you're looking to buy, that's just a little bit of an idea on when to buy. Let me go over to this next chart. Who wants to see more charts? I like charts. Don't you guys like charts? Okay. Next chart. Let me just go full screen. All right, here we go. Same data set, same time frame. What we're looking at here now is the supply and demand of units. The red bars for the bar graph are units for sale, and the green bars are the units sold. Okay, so over a 2-year period, what this is saying is basically over the last period, this 1 year, it's down 18% from the previous year. So 22 to May 23 is 18% higher of units sold than 23 to 24. Make sense? All right, you following? You tracking? So we've had less units for sale in this last year overall. Again, those interest rates are making sense. And we've had a lot less sold. We've had 35% units sold. So if you add up all these green bars right here, you get 35% less than the previous year. And again, this just continues to be an inventory problem. Okay. I say it over and over and over and over and over and over again, which is why I also say, hey, new construction might be a good idea, folks. If you want to buy a house around here. All right, let's look at days. I'm sorry, this is months supply of inventory. Okay, so what we're looking at here, month supply of inventory is if no new housing inventory hits the market, this is how many months it will take to sell everything, every house. Okay. And in a normal market, is 6 months of inventory. It's a balanced market between buyers and sellers. I don't know if I've ever been in a balanced real estate market. I've been doing this. I'm in my 7th year now. I think it may have been right when I first started, and then the seller, the inventory just, we lost it. We lost the inventory, and sellers have taken over. So the highest we've hit in the last 2 years was 2 months. So this is what I was talking about in terms of last year. When interest rates went up, we did see some inventory on the market. And I was telling you guys, I was like, this is please buy something. This is the time. Rate, but I get it. Rates were like at 8%. So you're like, no, Eric, shut up. But in terms of inventory, that's where it hit the highest. That's, even though rates are higher, you got to kind of play that game. Rates might be higher, but you could also potentially get the seller to get that lower price point. You might be able to, if something's been sitting longer on the market, you can offer lower and they might say yes. But here we crashed back down January, February, March. We got a little bit more inventory in May. But again, that's kind of spring market. That's kind of typical. May, June, July went up. And then you kind of see, last year was a little bit weird with the interest rates. This is more of a kind of a normal year, I would say. Inventory kind of creeps up through the fall. So you've kind of got a little bit more options. You get a lot in the spring. Again, this isn't the number of houses. This is, because you also get more buyers in the springtime. So right now you've got houses that come out, but you also have more buyers out right now. So we are at 1 month of inventory. 2 years ago, we were at 0.8. Last May, we were right about at 1.2. So again, inventory is not going up, guys. Sorry to say, inventory is not going up. So prices, going back to the price chart, that's why prices are going up. Simple supply and demand yet again. Prices are steadily going up. So about 5%, not as high as we were in, 2020, 2021, where we were seeing 10 to 15 percentage points a year of appreciation. We've seen about 5 the last two years, maybe almost 3 years now, going back into 2022. So steady growth here in Cincinnati, and that's what's going on. All right, guys. If you have any questions on that, let me know. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to hit before heading out here. There is, speaking of new construction, MI Homes, a couple of things here I wanted to show, I guess, and then I'll bounce. MI Homes is debuting a 130 lot Grove Park community in Clermont County's Miami Township. Did one video with MI. I want to do some more, but they build a solid home. I like what they do. But so 70-foot wide lots, that's very wide. So they got some space out there. A second phase with around 40 lots will open for sale in July. So I need to get out there. The home prices are at $430 into the 600s is MI's pricing. So that's where you're at. You've got 3 one-story ranch layouts and the rest being 2-story homes. So that feels very similar. It's kind of like a Ballyshannon in Union, those kind of prices, really, out there in Clermont County. Where are we? Let's get a little map here. Actually, let me see if I can get this. Deerfield Road, 131. Okay, so kind of east of Milford, right? Let's do our directions test. GABP, pretty good ballpark. You're 30 minutes from GABP. Okay, on the east side of town. So new homes by MI Homes. Also, for those of you looking to move to the area, you might be excited to hear this. Both MI and Fisher Homes are building in Mason, Ohio. Mason, Ohio. So if you've looked up Cincinnati and you've got a family and you're like, I want the best schools, Mason is known for best schools, really top rated schools. It's a great area to live. You got Kings Island up there. You've got Western and Southern tennis tournament. So Losh Landing, I think that's how you say it. Losh Landing. I'm actually going out there this week to film both Fisher and MI are building out there in Mason. So I'll say this again on new construction. So there's a new phase going in. Beautiful home sites. Explore the community. Want to see how many? 85 wide home site. 85-foot wide home site. Okay. I want to see the pricing here. 1 to 2 story floor plan. 9-foot ceilings. These are not going to be cheap, guys. Just letting you know. Where are we at? Plans. Quicken. Yeah, so we're going to be starting in the 700s, 800s. Once you get your selections, you'll probably be in the 900s to $1 million for these homes in Mason. But it is new construction in district is widely known for its number 4 ranking on Niche's best school districts in Ohio. So the 4th best school district in all of Ohio is in Mason City. So I'm going to get up there this week and actually do a video. I will say again, if you are thinking new construction, don't go into the model home, at least not before talking to myself or another real estate agent. If you want a real estate agent to work alongside you along your new construction home process, you need to talk to the agent first and let the agent introduce you to the builder. That way you get registered with the builder. The builder is going to pay for the real estate commission. Doesn't cost you any more in the house. But if you go to them first, what the builders need to see is a procuring cause. So all these builders, or at least most of them here locally, in their marketing budget, they have spend allotted for real estate agents. So they essentially want me to do what I'm doing right now, which is show you guys about these new neighborhoods and be a marketer for there. And they're willing to pay for that. Now, the benefit for you is the builder's going to pay, but also you'll be working alongside the builder and you'll get me as an agent, or you'll get an agent on my team or whatever. You'll get agent representation alongside the building process. So let's say something goes wrong with your lawn, or let's say something wasn't built right, or something didn't hit the right timing, or you want help with financing, or whatever that is. There's a lot of stuff that happens in a new build process. If you're only working with the builder, you're in there with their contract. You have to be your own advocate. If you're working alongside a real estate agent, we're going to be the advocate for you. So if you're interested in new construction, whether it's Mason or anywhere else around town, would love to help you out. Reach out to us first. If you guys want more information on that, I've got a video on the channel that's like me saying like, don't go into Fisher Homes. But the whole point is I like Fisher Homes. I like these different builders around town. But if you want to have an agent working with you alongside your new build process, which is just a benefit for you and it doesn't cost you anything, come to us first, then we'll introduce you to the builder. And then they're like, yep, you're registered. Great. You're working with all 3 of us along the way. So that's just a little tip if you're thinking about new construction. And why would you think about new construction? Because there's no freaking inventory and it's hard to sell. It's hard to buy something here in the city. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Like I said, I hope to see a lot of you at our Reds event. We're coming up here the 21st. The Wolfenbergs. Look at that. Look at that. We're just, doing some love here. We had a blast with this game last year. This is something we do again at our channel. So the business here, I'll close this out with this. The tagline for the business is find your home, strengthen your family. It's, there's a lot of nuts and bolts and there's a science and art of doing real estate and all that. But what's really fun is being able to help families like this one move across the country and find the right home for them. I have a deep belief, core values for our business is we believe that home is where families grow strong. And we believe that strong families bless the city. And so if you look at our logo up in this right-hand corner, it's the Roebling Bridge, but it's also the bottom of it. I redesigned it to be a table because I believe the table is a symbol of the home where families grow strong. Sit around, eat a meal, and not only strengthen your family, but invite others into that table. Invite people to eat with you and break bread with you. The table is where it's at. And so my very good friend, Jeremy Pryor, mentor of mine. I love this guy. If you want to check out his content, go to Family Teams podcast or the Jeremy Pryor podcast. He was doing a podcast this week that I was listening to about hospitality, and the idea was that he had a quote on there that Americans, when we get wealth, we buy our own loneliness, which was like so sad to me. Which, typically when we get wealthy, we might just isolate ourselves and we build fences and keep people out of our house. And what we should do instead is build bigger tables, is what he said in his podcast. I was like, I love that. Build a longer table, invite more people in, strengthen your family, and invite people to eat with you and break bread. So part of what we do here with these events is just to give you guys, it's a thank you for using us, but it's also hopefully a time where you're building memories with your family, where you're strengthening your family. This is what we want to do. This is hopefully part of the value that we're bringing to you as real estate agents. I'm trying to bring value in terms of understanding the market and the numbers and charts and all that stuff too. But no matter your family, I don't care if you're single or you got 12 kids. Like, it's important that we love our neighbor well, right? And so we had a blast last year. Yeah, as you guys can see, just so many people and past clients came. Man. And so we're going to get your photo taken with your family. We'll give that to you guys. And it's good time. So I'm looking forward to that. That's in less than 2 weeks. We'll be at the Great American Ballpark, not the Pretty Good American Ballpark, the Great American Ballpark. So hope to see you guys there. Looking forward to it. It's good to be back here on the live, and hope to do these again more frequently here in the summertime when time is allotted. But thanks, you guys, for jumping in and participating. Let's go Reds, Hoo Day, and we'll see you in the next one.